Welcome to We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T. I'm Alicia J, and I'm here with the one and the only Terrika Foster-Brasby.
Hey, girl.
Terrika, we are here at the Natty. The NCAA championship has just commenced. And wow, I mean, we have a lot to talk about when it comes to this game.
Yeah, I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah, well, let's just start off with vibes, okay?
Yes.
Let's do a vibe check. What was it like to be here? I mean, I know, like, we were sitting courtside, we were watching the game. I just love seeing all the fans. Two amazing fan bases that came together that both ride hard for their teams. Yeah. So it was definitely loud in here.
It was incredibly loud in here. And also, I love seeing all of the people who came out to support. Both of these schools have some star-studded alumni. So from Asia Wilson to Aaliyah Boston to Maya Moore, Bria Hartley, Steffi Dolson, Brianna Stewart, you know, of course, Sue Bird and DT. There were so many incredible players that were here supporting their schools. I was like, okay.
Yeah, they took a picture. UConn took a picture, and that whole stage was filled with them.
That was it.
It made me want to go to UConn for a second.
I was like, is this a guarantee? It's starting to feel like a guarantee.
Right.
Crazy.
Well, obviously, UConn won the game. Well, we alluded to that talking about the stage.
Right.
But what do you think was like the biggest surprise for you in this game?
I don't know. I think it just kind of felt that from a South Carolina standpoint, I was incredibly surprised about how defensively it felt like it started to get away from them. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't at all surprised by UConn. I think over the last few weeks, specifically the last couple of games in this tournament, we've seen UConn elevate their game to another level each and every single time. And so it was no different here. And I know we'll talk about that a little later, but I think I was a bit surprised by the fight of South Carolina. I want you to fight until you can't fight anymore. And it just kind of felt like once it started to get away with them, that energy kind of left the building.
Yeah, UConn has definitely looked solid for sure. I mean, that's an understatement.
Yeah.
But so is South Carolina. I felt like as the tournament went that they just got a little bit more strong in their game every single time. And so I was surprised that we didn't really see that in this game. It didn't necessarily translate.
Right.
What was the moment when you're watching this game, the moment that you thought, okay, it might be over?
Can I look at the entirety of the third quarter? But I think it was for sure the moment where Sanaya Fagan kind of like got in her bag a little bit. And there was a bit of a shove with her and Paige Bueckers. And Paige popped up. She was lit. She started clapping, and I said, "Oh, okay,
yeah."
It's literally about to be a wrap from there, because the energy had completely shifted to all UConn, and I think Paige kind of realized that and knew that. But also, I would say there were a couple defensive moments where I was like, if they're gonna play like this, then that is gonna be difficult for South Carolina to overcome.
I think it was the shake and bake for me. With Azzi Fudd.
Oh, Azzi was on it.
I literally was like, woohoo, like on the inside. You know what I'm saying? But I was just like, okay, Azzi, we see you. And the relentlessness of the UConn team. Everything was really, I mean, it was just good basketball. It was beautiful to watch on every single level. And they weren't going to let anything shake them. At all. I mean, when Jana went out with some foul trouble, you know, it was nothing to them. They just had somebody to come in and plug in and play, and everybody was just playing some stellar basketball.
Agreed.
Like champions, as they are.
Agreed. To me, it always feels like there are things that you are going to have in your favor as far as, you know, this is any team now. You'll have your defense if that's your thing. You'll have your offense if that's your thing. You'll have shooting if that's your thing. But the one thing that nobody can teach you is heart and determination and really motivation. And to me, it just felt like UConn from the jump came into this game motivated. They had the heart, they had the determination. And when you got a team that already is playing at that kind of a level and you add in that I'm just determined to not lose, that makes that team very dangerous.
Absolutely. And they also have, you know, Paige Bueckers wanted to get her championship. She absolutely, as everybody on the team, but also she absolutely deserved it. And you felt a little bit of that too.
Yeah.
You know, and when you have your big three all just firing at all cylinders,
that's what it was.
You really can't stop that.
Yeah.
So, you know, South Carolina, we talked about kind of what we saw, but what do you think really went wrong for them? Like, what was something that if they had changed it, it would have fared better for them?
Well, the first thing is, when you look at UConn and how they play, they are a quick-paced team. So first and foremost, what you can't do is allow a team that's quick up and down the court. You can't allow them to get too far in front of you. And they were able to do that. They allowed UConn to get off in transitions. They allowed them to set up in offensive sets, and you can't do that. The second thing that I think stood out to me was definitely their ability to allow UConn to capitalize on the boards. You don't want to give that kind of a team a second opportunity. You don't want to give that you actually want to make sure that you get all of your second chance opportunities to ensure that they don't get out in front of you. And they did not do that. Specifically in that third quarter, you could see the hustle ball, the hustle plays, it all went to UConn. And that was something that I know that Dawn had talked about previously. It was something that had been a strong suit for them against Texas in that semifinal matchup. So crashing in on the boards was definitely something. But I think the third thing was the confidence. I know that this team knows that they're a good team, but after a while, to me, the confidence level just kind of left. And I don't know if anybody else picked up on that or saw it, but it just felt that way, right?
It definitely felt that way to me. And I was shocked because that's something that has been just
their strength.
I mean, that's what they do is the confidence. And so I definitely felt that there was a little, to me, I don't want to say jitters. It didn't feel like they hadn't been here before, but it just felt like they couldn't get back up in a way. They couldn't get that inside of them, the confidence factor of what you talk about. But you mentioned Dawn earlier. This is what I really want to talk about. She sat down for most of the third quarter. What are your thoughts on that? Because there was a lot of chatter about her sitting down. And, coaches coach differently. They do different things. But it was a little different for her to sit down in the third quarter.
Yeah, it was. But you know what? The one thing that I would say is, and for me, I know that, there's a perception that if you aren't sitting or standing at the top of the key or standing, in the coach's box, or if you aren't moving around and pointing that you're not coaching. And there's this thing that you are giving up or sending a bad message. I don't think that's the case. I think there was a couple of things that happened here. Number one, UConn played incredibly well, textbook basketball. There are some things you can fix and there are some things you can't. And I think that there are moments where Dawn may have known there are just things that my team is doing that they're not going to be able to fix in this particular game here. Number two, I also think there are other ways to coach outside of having to always be in the front. When you can see the players coming back to the bench, you can see she was talking to them. She also has assistant coaches. Assistant coaches were doing their job. So I don't think it's fair to say, it was a white flag raised sort of because she, decided to sit. But I think it was also a bit of reality. If you know anything about Dawn, Dawn is a realist. And
she knows.
She knows when another team is good. She knows when another team, and she knows when her team did not live up to it. And I think in that moment, she knew her team wasn't living up to it, but I don't think she gave up on them. I absolutely think she still coached just in a different way that we had previously seen her do it.
Yeah, and I'm sure she's probably making some comments right now about that because I know she was asked. So we go hear what the real is from her regardless.
Pretty sure, yeah.
So what I want to talk about that was really real was the play of Sarah Strong.
Ooh.
She is so incredibly impressive. She can do anything, really.
Yeah.
If you break it down and look on that court, she was contributing on both ends of the court.
Yeah.
And Strong is her last name for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah. She, to me, has personified what it means to learn on the fly and mature on the fly. She has really shown her growth over the last at least last year, I can say now since the year is over, but you can really see her growth. This tournament, she was forced to really play against some heavy hitters in the paint, and she did that. Stepped up offensively. She's always been a great two-way player this entire season, but I think this matchup, we saw her, again, we talk about being on the boards. She was on the boards. We talk about needing a big bucket. She was there to present a big bucket. She was there to help spread the defense around. So, we have often said that South Carolina is a team that has so many weapons that you aren't quite sure who to guard. Well, in this scenario, UConn has the kind of weapons that can score from any position. So they may not have as many as South Carolina, but the three that they have are so versatile. And Sarah Strong is one of those big girls that's versatile. She can shoot from outside. She can get it in the paint. That makes her dangerous. And she's a freshman.
I can't even imagine being that good at her age, but she certainly is. When you talk about generational talent, she is a generational talent. You cannot argue that.
Yeah.
Sarah Strong is going to be amazing for years to come. If this is just the start, woo!
She's coming back. Azzi Fudd's coming back. Stop it, Gino. Stop it.
Gino's looking pretty good right now. He's a little excited about that.
Right.
Yeah. I for one am just really, when I look at this team and look at what we just watched, I mean, I think they're just going to get better and better.
Yeah, absolutely. This team is going to get better, but so is South Carolina. South Carolina is not a team that's going to take what happened today and just let it rub off. They're going to be thinking about that. They're going to know that this is Dawn's first loss in a national title game. She's going to remember this moment. And I think that that's something that's also going to help fuel her team, because she also has a freshman on her team that has done incredibly well. Joyce Edwards played pretty good throughout the majority of this tournament. She had a couple of games which she laid off a bit, but over the last 2 games, she stood up and stuck up for her team in a big way. And I think that's really encouraging. Again, to see these freshmen mature the way that they have, it's really encouraging.
I would say across the tournament, there were freshmen that stepped up. I can think about Jordan Lee for Texas. I think she has 16 in that final game that they had. But I mean, if you're looking at this freshman class, aren't you excited about the future of college basketball?
We are in such a great place. It's actually very fascinating at how we got here so quickly.
Yeah. And I'm just here because I'm a fan too. So I'm here to watch this for years to come. So we kind of talked about some players that stood out to us, but who do you think had the best night overall?
Oh, it was definitely Azzi Fudd.
Yeah.
It was definitely Azzi Fudd. Sis came to work early on in the semifinals and did a great job. Scored 19 points in the first half and kind of chilled out. Today, she lived up to what she said. She had told Paige Bueckers that she was someone who wanted to really show up and show out and have a better performance than she had the last time they were here against this very same team in 2022. But at that time, and this is not to make excuses, but there had been a stomach bug. Everybody was talking about they was sick. Oh, I didn't feel well. And so she didn't play like Azzi Fudd. But she has had a lot of adversity in her career. I mean, even before getting to college and high school, Azzi was someone who had to deal with injuries. And
we're definitely going to talk about that a little later in the segment, because she's had, I mean, it's amazing to see the success that she's having now. But I will tell you, and you can check the tape, okay? I said that if Azzi Fudd plays well, UConn will win. When Azzi plays well, UConn will always win, because to me, she is the factor. I don't even want to say X. She is the factor on the team that is successful for them. Everybody else plays really well around her. And she's kind of like the spark to everybody really playing well.
Agree. I mean, I think you play with a bit more comfortability when you know that you have an offensive threat like Azzi Fudd on your team. And you could see that from Paige today, right? Like, there were moments where coaches told Paige, I need you to, I know you like to share the ball, I know you like to pass the ball, but I need you to shoot that thing from time to time, right? Well, I think today you get a player like Azzi Fudd who plays the way she is, who came out automatically, instantly in the zone. Pick Malaysia for Wally's pocket twice, and I was like, who does that? When does that happen? That hardly happens. Malaysia is incredible with the basketball. She's quick, she has great handles. To be able to pick her back to back, that lets you know what type of time Azzi was on today.
Yeah, she was right on time. That's what she was. No, I absolutely love watching her. And love watching Paige. I mean, seeing her win this championship was something that I know I will always remember, because she has worked so hard. She's gone through so much adversity to get to where she's at. And what were your thoughts when you saw her, lift that trophy that she's finally worked so hard to get?
There was a moment when she was subbing out for the final time, and we had great seats. We were sitting right in the front, and she comes over, and everyone's giving Gino some love, but it looked and felt different. Like, you could see a weight lifted from her in that moment. She hugged Gino for quite a while. He was talking to her. You could see the tears starting to flow down her eyes. And I said, this was weight lifted from Paige, because regardless of what people say publicly or not, you all know that you judge people from UConn based on the championships that you win.
Well, and any big player.
Seriously, but specifically in UConn, Stores is known for championships. And this team hasn't won a championship since Breanna Stewart did it in 2016. If Paige had left this program without without a championship, the comparisons, the criticism, the conversation would have been at an all-time high. Yeah. So it's not like she needed the validation, but it certainly gave it to her.
Yeah, it definitely would have been something that would always be like an asterisk next to her name. Not that I agree with that personally. Right. We could get into that debate a little bit later.
Yeah, girl.
But it's definitely something that I could see, you know, people always saying about her.
But she didn't win a chip. But she didn't win a chip.
And now they're not going to say that.
Now they can't see it.
Yeah. Is there any other player on UConn that you think really affected the game that people might not even be, you know, really talking about right now? Because when you look at the big three and, you know, all their contributions, people are going to focus on that. But is there a player that you would just say?
I do think that people need to pay more attention to Katie Chen. She's a fifth-year senior, transferred over from Princeton. She was not new to this situation. She was not new to playing in big moments. And I think she impacted the game at times in some critical moments. Defensively, she showed up in great places, but also on the offensive end, she started to be a threat, specifically in the semifinals for sure. She certainly had moments where she was like, hey, don't worry about it. I got it too. I think she's a player who may have flown under the radar, but certainly played a critical role in helping to get them to this point too.
Yeah, I've been talking about her all tournament because when she comes in, she really makes things happen. She might not have the stat line that everybody wants to see, but she's doing the little things. She's also one of the people that is getting the team up. When she comes in, people play harder because I think they respect her game and they know how hard she's worked. And I also love her parents have come to like every single game this year, and I thought that was so cute.
So dope. But you know who else I got to show some love to from UConn specifically? KK Arnold.
Oh, come on, KK.
KK, first of all, I didn't realize how much of a fan favorite. Like, people love KK. She gets in the crowd. She started going up and coming out and clapping and getting excited. The crowd loves KK. So you know you can slide on in when you become a crowd favorite. But I really appreciate the trust that Gino was putting as this tournament continued. You can see that there was more trust being put at her at the position. And as a sophomore, that's necessary, right? Because that's who you're going to look to continue to feed your program, right? And so I like that throughout this tournament, you could see that not only was the trust starting to build on his end, but the confidence was starting to build on hers. And that's going to be critically important as she becomes such a critical piece to your program moving forward.
Absolutely. Now, you know, obviously they didn't get the outcome that they wanted, but when you think about South Carolina, who would you point out, or who are you excited to see play next year would be a question, because they're going to come back bigger and better. And they're also going to be ready this next time because they're not going to let this slide.
Well, one of the things that I think that, you know, was interesting to me about South Carolina is we talked a lot about their depth, right? And so Alicia Fudd, for one, is for me, one of the people for me I can't wait to see. But I think in times this year, specifically in this game, their depth might have been an issue, right? Because I know like Dawn likes to sub out a lot. And at times it felt like it was very difficult for them to be able to find consistent rhythm and find a groove because of people moving in and out. So I really think that, you know, Alicia needs to solidify herself in that starting position now so that she can become a focal point of this offense and not have to do so coming off the bench. So she can be the person to find that rhythm to help them maintain the intensity that she brings. I'm really excited to see her. I know that Dawn is going to continue to bring in all-star recruits. So I know that she's like, I often say she reminds me of Nick Saban with Alabama football. No matter how many people you see in the draft with Alabama, for some reason, there's always a good 15 more just lined up and the program never stops. That's South Carolina for me. Like, it doesn't matter who leaves, who doesn't return. There's just the next man up that fills in. So Alicia, I'm excited to see. Tessa Johnson, I think, is someone who's going to be exciting to see. So she's still got some weapons she can work with.
Yeah, I think she has a lot. And like you said, she's going to bring somebody in, or more people in as well.
Oh, yeah.
Because she has a program that, I mean, if they had won tonight, she would have been the most winningest coach in championships rather of all time. And so, I mean, yes, they might not have won today, but they're going to win overall with Dawn.
They're going to be all right.
Yeah, she's not going to let that. She's not going to let this go on for too long.
Yeah.
But, and congratulations to them. I mean, yes, you did not win the championship, but you had a fantastic season. You are here in on this stage.
Now, you know, they don't want to hear that right now.
I know they don't.
It don't matter how much we tell them they were awesome this season. They're going to say we ain't win the ship. It don't matter.
Right.
But it really was a great season for South Carolina overall.
Well, we're going to get into talking about somebody that we kind of started talking about, but we're going to get into it a little deeper in this week's Connecting Changes Everything, presented by AT&T. All right. Well, we talked about her a little bit earlier, but Azzi Fudd, oh my goodness. She had such an amazing game. She was a key to them winning for sure. She was the most outstanding player of the game, who put up 43 points over 2 games to lead UConn to this Final Four. It's an astounding story that she's had, particularly she's been so resilient.
Yeah.
Overcoming an ACL tear last year to get to this point. I think there was a stat here that I just could not believe, that in her previous 3 seasons, she's played just 42 total games.
Yep.
When you look at that and what she did in this game, I mean, what a story, Terrika. What a story.
Yeah, that is physical and mental resiliency, because it is a mental hurdle to get over back-to-back injuries. You know what I mean? Like, it is, you are also telling yourself that you're fine. You're also, trying to tell yourself that you're good, that you can do it, and that, the injury isn't going to happen again. So that's the mental part of it. Yeah. And the physical part of it is just that, the physical part of actually rehabbing and getting yourself back from an injury. To do that takes not only a strong support system, but for a team like this, they have had to have build camaraderie. They have to have each other's back, and they had to have a coach to support them. And so I feel like it was inevitable that Azzi Fudd was going to be able to come out and be stronger than she was on the other side of it, because she plays for a team that seems to have each other's back and for a coach that seems to care about his players.
Yeah, we posted on the We Need to Talk socials page saying that everyone in the country should take note of Azzi Fudd, and they absolutely should, not only for her resiliency, but she's just an amazing player.
The girl is a bucket.
Listen, she was shaking and baking today.
Girl was a bucket, picking pockets. Defense was next level for UConn. I mean, they say defense wins championships, but I don't know. Offense was looking like it was winning a lot of championships today.
It definitely was. I mean, I was just sitting over there really trying not to react because we're on Media Row. We can't really do that. But my goodness, highlights for days. Yeah. But the resiliency factor, when I think about overcoming injury, she not only tore her ACL in college, but also in high school.
Yes.
In high school.
Yeah, that says a lot about, again, just staying resilient, staying on top of it, making sure that you had a good medical team, but just getting over the mental hurdle. And having a support system like that, to me, that's probably the most important part, is just having that support system. I was chatting earlier with Bria Hartley, who, had also dealt with an ACL injury, but she said to me something that I thought was interesting. She said, yeah, but you know what? I tore my ACL at 28. She tore her ACL in high school. Like, that's a different level of strength. And I said, you're absolutely right. There are adults who struggle with coming back from injuries that could be devastating. Yep. So for a kid to do that, because at the time she was, and to now a young woman that's excelling at the next level, I just think it continues to show her character.
Well, and not to mention just physically too.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I've never had an ACL tear, but I've definitely hurt my knee before, and it still hurt.
I know that, girl.
I mean, I just can't even imagine, going through all of that, both mentally and physically, and having the game that you had today. Yeah. I mean, the sky is the limit for Azzi Fudd.
Yeah.
It was a privilege to watch her play today.
Did we say she's coming back? Because that is blowing my mind.
I know, it is.
She's coming back. It's there's going to be some future good times in stores.
Man, without a doubt. So we'll definitely be watching her amazing career unfold as we did tonight. But let's just talk about the whole tournament, Terrika.
Yeah.
It was a phenomenal one. It was a sold-out crowd here today.
Yeah.
It was an electric atmosphere, and it's just been an amazing movement for women's basketball. What are you looking forward to seeing? I mean, we've seen so much and so much growth, but it's only going to get better.
Well, you know what? I think that some of the things that I'm looking forward to is the new stars. I mean, it is no secret to anyone that as much as we got a chance to see some of the biggest stars on the biggest stage, there was a star that was missing as we got deeper into the tournament, and that was with Juju Watkins. Unfortunately, she suffered an ACL injury earlier in the tournament, and so we didn't get a chance to see her past the Sweet 16, and that was devastating. So one of the things I'm certainly looking forward to in future tournaments is being able to see Juju Watkins leading USC here. I think she is a phenomenal player, generational talent for sure, and she's going to continue to draw crowds and draw eyes. So she's someone who I can't wait to see get back healthy and get back out here. But also just being here, right? Like, if you're driving around Tampa, you start seeing all these cones and stuff everywhere, roads closing, people are trying to make way for traffic. And you say to yourself, well, it'll probably be lighter on championship day because there are not 4 teams here. There's not so many people that are going to be here. you are wrong.
It was packed.
Folks come out, and they come out even more so. And there were even fans from other teams that were still here because they understood the gravity of what was at stake. So I love the fact that this game is growing to a level that you don't even have to show up just because your team is in it. You're showing up because the product is just that good. You don't want to miss it.
Absolutely A1. And I also really like to see that there was a revenue share that was happening with the women's teams this year, which it should have been before, but that's a whole nother conversation that we'll have at another time. But we are glad that that is here now. And it's things like that that I love to see. Also, just the players getting more NIL deals and just really blossoming in their whole entire marketing. You know, it's really cool for the sport. It's cool for the player, but it's just amazing to see overall how all of those things are pushing women's sports into where it should have been all along.
Absolutely. Now, you know, it ain't going to be without some criticism, right? Because Gino definitely is not happy about some things. Gino is still upset about travel time. He's still upset about scheduling. And it ain't always going to be fair, Gino, I'm sorry to say. So that's just kind of where we are. But I like that that conversation is happening because that it continues to show care. It continues to make sure that the game evolves. Maybe there will be some consideration to that later on. Who knows? But again, even some of the criticisms that we have from players, from coaches, from all of those things, it just helps make the game greater.
It does. But I mean, I hope people look at that.
Yeah.
When you hear that from the people who are playing in the tournament, you should absolutely take note and, you know, act accordingly. There's a reason why there are some of those things going on and some of those grumblings. So I don't know. It's just like a roadmap. Just follow it.
Just follow
what I'm saying? Follow it. Well, I hope that you guys are following us because we have so many other shows coming. The WNBA season is about to kick off, which is crazy for me to even think about and say right now as we're just wrapping this.
The draft is in a week.
It's in a week. But we're going to have plenty of shows that you're going to want to check out. So subscribe, like, share, do all of the things because you want to be connected for all of the shows that are coming your way. And Terrika Foster-Brasby, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Alicia.
It was a fantastic NCAA Final Four, I guess, week at this point.
Yeah, right. We've been here so long.
Fantastic game. It was great to sit here and talk to you about it. And we will see you next time right here on We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T.